Hello friend, welcome back to my video blog. Thank you so much for being here, for your presence, for your energy, for your trust, for taking a few minutes of your day to hear one of my messages. And I was so touched today. One of my friends who is also going through some challenges, healing her heart, shared with me this morning that my videos, my messages have helped her through some really tough times. So if you're watching, I'm not gonna see your name. Thank you for that. You made my day. And I never know who I'm touching. And that's why I keep doing these videos. And if anything, it helps me to put my message out there. It helps me to do my own emotions because I've been in a little roller coaster myself, healing my heart, healing some hurt and going through some loss, and sharing, being here with you helps me. Anyway, let's continue the conversation about open or close our hearts. One of my students, my beautiful student from my Zoom group coaching that I do every week, this Monday, we had some big conversations about vulnerability, about boundaries, and she asked me a question that I think it can be really good to share with you all because a lot of you might have that question. And the question was, she asked me, because of how many times she has been disappointed and hurt by others, when is the time to just close your heart to somebody? And she used her arms like, when is the time that I should just close my heart? When should I keep it open? When should I close? And this is my answer. I said, neither. You just choose the one, which is always have your heart open, never close. Because when we close our hearts, when we try to, there's only one reason we want to close our hearts. And the reason is I'm going to protect myself from getting hurt. I'm going to protect myself from being in pain. And I'm going to remind you of a quote something that Bruce Lipton shares in his book. It's a science book. And he's studying the biology of belief. That's the name of the book. And I learned such a great lesson in that book. That book was one of my top 10 books. He says we can now live in a state of protection and growth at the same time. We either protect or we grow. So when I gave her the answer, I basically did this. I showed her, it's like I said, you always leave your heart open. The difference is sometimes you hear with the person, and sometimes you take many steps back and you're loving that person from far back. That's called boundaries. Sometimes we need to, not to protect ourselves, but just because it might not be safe. You don't want to keep putting yourself out there, make yourself vulnerable, trust in somebody if you keep getting disappointed, hurt. And I know that happens to a lot of us. So the answer is never close your heart, because when we close our hearts, we're not closing our hearts just from that person. We are closing our hearts from love in general. Their heart doesn't have this filter that's going to say, okay, I'm going to love you and receive your love, but I'm not going to love you, or I'm not going to receive your anger, whatever it is. The heart doesn't have that filter. The heart, it's pure love. And one of the reasons we do a spiritual practice every day, that we work with great teachers, which I'm about to see in a few minutes, my own teacher, is to keep opening our hearts. We never want to harden our hearts. So I want to share one of my favorite philosophies that comes from Joseph Campbell. Joseph Campbell that, came with this philosophy, the hero's journey. He has a philosophy about life that I adopt. I used to believe that our purpose in this life is to find meaning. And I think it's one of them. But I think there's something even bigger. The reason we want to find meaning is this, and I'm going to read this quote to you so you understand. People say that we are all seeking is a meaning for life. I don't think that's what we are really seeking. I think that what we are seeking is an experience of being alive, so that we actually feel the rapture of being alive. We are seeking for experiences to make us feel alive. Think about it. That's why a lot of people choose extreme sports. People do drugs. People do a lot of things to just feel alive. And I think the deep work comes when we find this feeling, when we generate this feeling of being alive, by adopting healthy practices. So I read this quote for you because one of the ways, what we need to adopt as a belief is that in order to experience life and feel alive, we need to live with open hearts. And that means hurt happens, pain happens. But you know, I always teach this, and it's not my teachings, teachings from great spiritual teachers, that there is a difference between pain and suffering. Pain is necessary. That's what hurt is. Hurt simply means I love somebody and I cannot have this person right now in my life. I cannot give my love to this person the way I want to give, which is grief, right? Grief is like the love seeking for a place to go. So hurt happens, pain happens, and suffering will happen if we decide to close our hearts because we don't want to hurt, because we don't want to be in pain, but that will create lifetime suffering and you won't feel alive because hurt, pain, even our deep sadness, it's part of being alive. It's part of our growth. It's part of our learning, and it sucks. You read my last blog probably, and I'm going to write another blog about this, that feeling the hurt sucks. That's why we want to escape. That's why we want to distract. That's why we want to get out of here. But like Pema Chodron says in her book, there's no escape. We can't escape from this pain, because if we try to escape from the pain, we're going to suffer, because we're going to repeat patterns in our next relationship, next friendship, or some other time in our life. So, you know, hurt happens. And we need to choose always to keep expanding your heart. And there's nothing, don't take it wrong, but there's nothing better to expand our hearts more when our heart feels broken. My heart feels a little broken right now. And I am spending, investing a lot of time in solitude and quiet journaling, going back to books like this, Broken Open, because it's just an opportunity for me to get deeper in my practice, create a deeper relationship with myself. So the answer, again, is to never close your heart. Create boundaries, protect your space if you need to. Say no, you know, to things or to people that are not serving, that are not there with love with you. So boundaries, yes. I forgave my father years ago. My father had a lot of abusive behaviors when I was growing up, towards my mom, towards myself. And I love him from distance. I don't need to be with him. And I keep my heart open. Like if he calls me today, I will speak to him with a heart very open. So you can always love. You always want to keep your heart open, because that's how we keep evolving. And love is the feeling of being alive. We need to experience love. And yes, sometimes we're going to get hurt. And as much work as we do, on our spiritual path, in our emotional intelligence, it's going to happen. It's going to happen again. And we keep learning, we keep growing, we keep crying, and it passes. And then we feel alive. So that's what I want to share with you today. If you want to learn more about how to create more spiritual fitness, more emotional intelligence, send me a message. Let's have a conversation, see if I can help you in any way. And if I can't, I will send you to somebody that can help you to unlock your potential, burst that heart open, because that's what life is about. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon.